I'm Demont Davis, and I was chair of the chair for the SPLOST for 2015. What we want to do today is begin to provide some information on the SPLOST process that we are undertaking for the 2015. We do have copies of the list from the previous two SPLOSTs. So if anyone needs a copy of that, please feel free. They're over here to my right, to your left, at the table. Also, if we would like everyone to sign in over here and leave their email address. We want to include everyone on an email list so we can begin to send out vital information that you're going to need to know to make informed decisions. Now, we do have some representatives from the county who are here to answer questions that you will have. Please ask anything. We want to keep all our questions to a minimum of 2 minutes. And we want to keep them scoped on the SPLOST. Your ideas, any questions or concerns that you may have. Can we do that? Now, I'm going to get a napkin, so if anybody has a little something on their cheek, I'm going to wipe it off, because Lindsay's going to have you on camera over here. Okay? So, we want to go right ahead and get started. So, any questions, raise your hand. We want you to either come up to the mic, or we will bring a mic to you, and we want you to ask your question. Pretty simple. We want to start? You have a question over here? Yeah. Okay. And let's please state our name.
No, I got it.
For the record.
My name is Addie Page, and I'm the president of Unity South Atlanta Church. My question concerns Mount Zion Boulevard in Jonesboro. I've seen survey crews out there for the last couple of months, and it seems like in the back of my mind I remember something about widening of the road. So I'm questioning that, and especially as to how it would impact my church. My second question is about the local bus service. It seems like we voted on that a couple years ago, yet we still have no buses. That's it.
And there's your answer, man, right there. Next to you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. The first question about Mount Zion Boulevard. Yes, it is slated to be widened. It's a project we're currently working on. Right now, you're probably about 4 years away, if we can get there. That's a major project in the county. Upwards of $50 to $60 million is being spent on Mount Zion Boulevard and Bower Creek Road to widen them. They've been in the works for over 10 years now. The original idea probably dates back 20 to 25 years ago. But through the SPLOST programs, the previous SPLOST programs is what's paying for those roads to be widened. With a lot of transportation projects, it takes time to go through the federal process to get approval from different environmental agencies, and it take a while to bring a project to fruition. You mentioned seeing survey crews out there. Yes, they've been out there surveying. They've been locating utilities that are under the ground. There's a lot of work being done on that, and right now the county is anticipating starting buying the right-of-way, the property alongside the roads that we need to be able to widen the road. We should be doing that at the end of this calendar year, and that'll take us a couple of years to do. Okay, transit. Transit's a popular question around here. A couple years ago, there was a vote. It was a non-binding vote about joining MARTA, if the citizens wanted to join MARTA to provide the transit service. That's something at the time the Board of Commissioners did not go forward with that action. Okay? Right now, transit service, as you know, we do not have transit buses running in the county other than the express buses that will take you downtown Atlanta. That's not a service the county is providing, but the state is providing that service. Right now, through the SPLOST program, what we can provide is the acquisition, the buying of a bus. We can do that. What we can't provide, though, is paying the bus service. And that's where the dilemma comes up. The SPLOST programs are supposed to be capital in nature. You buy a capital project, make an improvement, a building. This building was built with SPLOST funds. You buy a bus with SPLOST funds, but you cannot pay for the operations. The Board of Commissioners is exploring various modes of how to fund transit. When Chairman Turner came into office at the start of last year, 2013, one of his first things was, I want to see buses rolling. It's not an overnight process, unfortunately. As much as we all might want to see buses rolling, he wants it done right. He wants it done where it can be sustained into the future. He doesn't want to get into the same situation that caused C-Tran to go away a couple years ago. So the county is making efforts through the Board of Commissioners leadership to try to bring back bus service into the county. Through the 2015 SPLOST program that we're here to talk about, there is an opportunity to buy buses through those funds. But again, we can't pay to operate the service.
And let's remember this, the SPLOST is not an increase in tax. It is a reallocation of that one student.
What's the projected time frame to get the transportation up and going again?
Mr. Matarco, what is the projected time frame to get the bus service up and running?
For the bus service, you are probably still looking at probably 2 to 3 years out from now. It depends on the way the Board of Commissioners choose to go about implementing the service. But at this point, off the top of my head, I would say you're probably looking at a 2 to 3 year process until you get buses running. Now, I'll give you an example of a problem with the bus service. To buy a bus, if we were to go buy a brand new bus, the manufacturing time to buy a bus, it's not like you can go down to the Ford dealership and buy a truck off their lot. The manufacturing time is upwards to a year to manufacture a bus. So that gives you some perspective on how long it's going to take to implement a bus service.
Yes.
It seems like Jonesboro Road from Forest Parkway to Walmart is so full of holes on the road, and they try to just patch up the little holes, and after 2 or 3 days of rain, it's gone. When are we going to get that done?
Jonesboro Road in that area is State Route 54, and that's actually Georgia DOT's right of way. It's their road. They're the responsible entity to patch the potholes. The county doesn't do that. But what we can do, since you brought it out, is we can forward on the request from Georgia DOT to come maintain their road. Now, we'll be happy to do that. They have, just as well as we do, we run crews around the county to patch potholes. They do it statewide. So how soon they're going to be able to get out there, I don't know, but just like with a lot of things, they won't do it unless you ask, and we'll be happy to forward your request to them.
Yes, again on transportation. My understanding is they're doing another feasibility study, and I'm wondering when the public will have an input in that, so that we might not need one large bus, but we might need smaller buses like the Ride or something like that, that would transport the senior citizens to their doctor's appointments and things of that nature, and just run them during prime times in the morning, in the evening, and possibly have something like the Ride with a smaller bus.
You're exactly correct, ma'am. The county, actually next week, the Board of Commissioners will be considering to hire a firm to do some studying of the service for us. What we found out is the county went to the Federal Highway Administration, which gives us money to help operate the service. And what they told us is, you have to do a study in order to get federal funds. If you do not, we will not give you the federal funds. Things change over time. We know C-Tran, when they were in existence, there was problems. Some of the routes didn't go to where they needed to go. The system grew over time in ridership, but the routes essentially stayed the same. As you indicated, going back with what was out there probably isn't the best thing. It needs to be restudied. There's been demographic shifts within the county. Population has changed. There's different places people want to go now. All that needs to be considered so the service is as best as it possibly can be. Whether that's a big bus or a bunch of small buses, I don't know. It needs to be studied to make sure whatever dollars are spent wisely in the system, whatever that might be, is as efficient as possible. We are anticipating sometime around mid-year of this year, there will be public information meetings where you can come, give us direction, tell us what you want, tell us what you like and don't like, tell us where you think the needs are, tell us where you want a big bus compared to small buses will be. The question was, why wasn't transit identified in the citizens' recommendations that recently were provided to the Board of Commissioners for transit? And what we're going to do is, Damon Davis, the head of the Citizens Committee, is looking over his material to explain the answer.
It's on a focus suggestion. So it's not on the calendar.
The way we put the list together, we took a lot of information that was developed and delivered by the department heads for what was needed. We have to look at the SPLOST in three different lanes. One, we have to look at departmental needs. What is needed for this county to deliver services effectively and efficiently to the citizens? Two, we have to look at it from the standpoint of what the citizens we want to see developed in the county, such as this center. And then three, we have to also look at it as an investment vehicle for our county in order to derive funds to keep our county moving forward in the future. The transportation of the bus service was on that list. We have it deemed as unprioritized. That does not mean we've cut it. It deems that we don't know the legal ramifications or what's needed to produce it, so we kept it on that list, and we're allowing the commissioners to go forth to put it where it needs to be, to figure out how do we get it. But it is a high priority.
I read in the paper that you wanted to build a new administration building and a civic center, and I've forgotten the third thing that you wanted to build with the SPLOST money. You already have $1 billion that you have not used in SPLOST for operating funds. So if you build these new things that you are talking about in the SPLOST, how will you get the money for the operating funds for that?
What about the projects that have not been finished? The recreation center over in District 4. I think there was a land issue with that, to why that's not been finished. But the money is allocated for it. The funds are allocated for it. There are many sidewalks and street improvements. Again, funds allocated for it. We cannot spend funds that are allocated for a specific project for anything else.
Well, I would rather see you do the infrastructure for Clayton County, because we certainly need repairs for our roads and sidewalks and our water system and all of these things that have not been mentioned. So if we were going to do a SPLOST, I would like to see those included.
The proposed list out there right now is a recommended list from the Citizens Group. The Board of Commissioners have not decided on which projects they want to make a final list that will be the list that the citizens will vote on. Right now, as you alluded to, there are a couple building projects on there. One a civic center, and one a county admin center. Pretty big price tags on them, quite honestly. One of the things the board has been looking at is the cost to operate these facilities. As you alluded to, there are some projects in 2009 program that have not been built yet. Well, one, the 2009 program by no means is complete. The collections run through into next year. But there is some issues about sustaining a new building As we all know, the economy has not been the greatest over the last several years. A lot of these estimates were done before the economy started dipping down. The county's been tightening their budgets over the last several years. Every year, the budget for the county keeps on going down. So that's one of the things the Board of Commissioners are conscious about, bringing on a new facility and taking on the burden of the operating costs, whatever that might be, the additional personnel and all the electricity and utility costs to run the thing. So as we move forward and the board's trying to decide which projects need to make this list, they are weighing the benefits in the pros and cons of an infrastructure project compared to a need of another building, whether it's like a senior center in another portion of the county, or a admin building or a civic center. That's something they're considering.
Also, one more, in reference to what you talked about. When the committee met, infrastructure was very, very high. Infrastructure was extremely high on our list. And what we did do is we visited many, many streets to come up with a list of what we could have. Now, was it all encompassing of the county? The answer is no. We did not have the time nor the manpower to do that. We were a group that was representing you, the citizens, to create this list. And so that's what we did. So many of the streets you're not going to see on there, but infrastructure development is of high priority on this list.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Lucas. I got a question. Is there a Clayton County Transit Authority? I never hear anything about it. You have a fire department, you have a police department, but y'all never hear about a Clayton County Transit Authority. And if you don't get one, you ain't gonna get no buses. You forget that. If you had a Clayton County Transit Authority, it could appeal to the federal government. They have one there. You have a state, you have a Georgia State Transit Authority, but you don't have one in Clayton County. And you're not going to get any revenue in here to mount to anything unless you get these young people out of here going to work somewhere, get these kids going to school somewhere, get some education going around here somewhere. You can forget that we are on fixed income. You're looking at a lot out here. We're not hard up for transportation. Look at the cars out there. Guess who's driving them? We are. But we want our children to work. And they can't, and we want them to get there. So you get a transit authority, and that is the number one priority in here, is the economy.
There is not a Clayton County Transit Authority. There never was when C-Tran was in operation. There are various ways the Board of Commissioners can implement transit, and it does not require an authority to implement it, although it could if they chose to do it that way.
Question over here.
Well, since it looks like we're delaying the transit, what about, is there any plan for sidewalks along Riverdale Road? Because all you have to do is look at the sides of the road and you can tell that there's a need, because there's pathways from here to 285. So is there any plan of a sidewalk along Riverdale Road?
Yes, ma'am. Let me explain something about sidewalks. We could spend the whole SPLOST program on sidewalks, and we're still scratching the surface of what this county needs. When the county developed 20, 30 years ago, the majority of the major corridors, sidewalk and walking was not a big issue. It was not what the citizens wanted, therefore it wasn't built at the time. Now, we need sidewalks. So we're trying to figure out how to get sidewalks out there. SPLOST is a great way to get sidewalks out there, and we have done some in 2004 and 2009. There's still more to be done, definitely. You mentioned State Route 139, Riverdale Road. This is one of the things Chairman Turner has decided this is what we're going to do. Previously, the board of commissioners didn't want us to spend county funds on state DOT area. Chairman Turner has directed us to start looking at the state highways because that's where most people are walking. That's where the highest percent of the pedestrians are on the state highway. Terra Boulevard, there's certain sections of State Route 85, State Route 139 is a great road. He wants us to do whatever we can to get sidewalks out there. One of our recommendations for 2015 for this program, what we're talking about today, is to put a ton, $35 million is what we recommended. Probably won't get funded at that level, but a lot of money for sidewalks to address the major corridors. So in essence, the county will be spending money on state DOT right away. But I'll be honest with you, that's the only way we're going to get sidewalk out there. Waiting on the Georgia DOT to do it is not going to happen. So yes, it's in the program.
I have a concern about the environment and the litter in Clayton County. When you come in off of 75 onto Highway 85, in the median, there's always a lot of trash. I know it's because people are throwing a lot of litter. Are there any provisions to help with this situation, to raise the awareness of the litter, and any provisions to eliminate it or to at least removal of it? Because there's a lot of litter in the medians, and my concern is how can we draw new businesses and people to want to live in our community if when you come into the community there's a lot of litter?
The problem we have with it is you go pick it up today, you go back out there tomorrow, it doesn't look like you did anything yesterday. That's the honest truth. The county does have crews constantly picking up litter around the county. It's through our refuge control department. Warden Frank Smith is the leader of that group. They have crews all around the county picking up trash and dump sites. So if you see this this road or any other road that's in unincorporated county, you can contact the county, the refuge control department, and let them know where it's at, and they will do their best to get out there in a very timely manner and clean it up. But we are constantly picking up litter. It's a no-win situation to a degree.
My name is Margie Trawick, and I'm no stranger to a lot of you. You might, I think Jeff has renamed me to Doubting Thomas, but I have been promised that Woolsey Road would have been paved since 2004 SPLOST. Believe me, it has not been repaved. I know a lot of this stuff's going on, and you've got a lot of projects going on. You've got this whole list of things that I suppose that you're trying to get this SPLOST passed for. You've got a ton of things, a lot of money. My question is, when you vote and when you present this to the SPLOST, is this going to be the center of attention that you're going to work on? Or are you going to go back and take care of all these things we've been promised for 10 years? And another thing that I just brought up to Jeff a few minutes ago, and I don't think any of the public safety people in the county know about this. Of course, Woolsey Road is a dangerous place anyway. But we have one little section between Inland Road and Panhandle Road that students are walking in the street in the dark to catch a bus, school bus. My daughter has almost hit one 2 or 3 times because she could not see them. They're walking in the street dressed in black, and if a car is meeting her, she cannot see them. And I'm afraid that somebody is going to get hurt there. If we can get this street widened, that may take care of that problem. Otherwise, we need to pave a sidewalk there before somebody gets killed. And I've talked to Jeff several times. He's done a lot of things. Of course, we could have had this road done a couple of years ago, but our former commissioner in our district and our county manager stopped it. So there I put a lot of blame there. But Jeff, I believe, is working as hard as he can with me. But this has gone on long enough. 10 years is long enough. It's time to keep a promise. I'm ready to see some progress. I have been promised again that this street is going to be paved by the end of this summer. I'll come back and report back to you how much of it got done. Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, 2009 is not complete. The collections run through the end of this calendar year. And typically it takes a couple years longer than your collections to deliver all your programs. 2009, we're committed, the board has said that we are delivering the projects as promised. 2004, there are still a couple projects left to be built, which the county is diligently working on. It's not like we forgot about them or deleted them or wrote them off the list. We are still committed. Same thing on 2015. Any projects that the citizens elect to have built will be built. As for Woolsey Road, you and I have talked many times. We are committed to that. We have hired a contractor. So work will begin in short order once we get through with some legal issues with some land acquisition. But we are committed to that project and it will be delivered.
Yes, my name is Cassandra Morales, and my question is in regards to the economics. The gentleman over there alluded to the fact we need to have a plan in place where we utilize the contractors that live in Clayton County. And I'm wondering if you have a plan in place if we don't have large enough contractors to do a lot of the infrastructure that we subcontract to the contractors here in the county. Therefore, that would build our economic base. And that would help us with our students, and so we could kind of lessen that school to prison pipeline.
One of the things the Board of Commissioners have committed themselves to is looking at contractors and looking at our Central Services Department as to how we bid out and how we provide services to the general public. One of the areas you're talking about is trying to ensure that there's opportunities for local vendors to be able to have opportunities to bid on projects within the county. So the county and the board has consciously looked at that, and they are trying to ensure that there are some opportunities. Where the issue sometimes comes into play, to be transparent in the conversation, is the ability of that vendor to be able to bond out the services. They have to have the bonding capacity in order to take on the project. And so where there seems to be a shortfall sometime with our bidding process is that those individuals do not have the bonding capacity to take on a lot of the larger projects. But yes, we are constantly looking at ways to ensure that local vendors have an opportunity to bid on these projects. And more importantly, the chairman is holding us to be more transparent. As you all have probably already been, it's already been alluded to, is that we have a website, the ClaytonSPLOST.com website. So you can see the status of these projects. You don't have to wait for us to facilitate these open meetings in order for you to get an answer of what the statuses are on those projects. So please, we encourage you to please go to that website and to get a status report on where we are on the 04 program, the 09, and if you feel it's fitting to support the 2015 program, those projects will be on there as well.
I constantly use, my name is John Woodward, and I constantly use Highway 138, especially between Terra Boulevard and 85. We started doing some work on the potholes and the road. You started and you stopped, and the road is still so bad you're tearing up your car trying to drive up and down 138. Is anything going to be done about that anytime soon? Are you going to restart the works anytime soon?
Yes, Georgia DOT has done some work. We are hopeful that Georgia DOT will come back out and repave the rest of the road. That was something that Chairman Turner spearheaded at the start of last year to force Georgia DOT to address some of those potholes. So the major potholes they've patched, and we are very hopeful that they will turn around and resurface the road hopefully this year.
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Stiggers, and I don't know if this is the place or the time, but I would like to see if we can bring bigger, larger businesses into the county so that we will have people to want to move to our county.
Yes, when we talk about the economic vitality of the county, we want to hear about it. We want to propose projects The Board of Commissioners want to implement projects that help increase the tax base for the county. If we can put a project into fruition that will attract businesses to the county, that's a high priority project we really want to consider putting funding towards. Whether it's a road project, trying to facilitate transit, trying to put forth some other type of means. A civic center could bring in other businesses to the county. It's something that we are looking at on how to increase the tax base to the county and try to relieve some of the burden off of the homeowners and get the businesses more involved.
I've been here over 50 years, and Terra Boulevard does not look like Terra Boulevard looked many, many years ago. I think it's slowly gone downhill. But we have nothing in our area as far as a senior center or recreation or anything like that. At one time we did have a senior center, it's moved. We have headquarters library. I hear something may be happening with that. We have nothing in our area at all, and no way to get there for a lot of people, even if we did, like recreation senior centers. But you're never going to attract businesses or anybody else. There's no point in building a big fancy civic center or anything else with all the trash and the mess that we have all over the county. If we have tires piled up, rims out front, we have illegal signage, we have trash everywhere, you're never going to have anybody that wants to come to anything if you don't clean up the mess. We've always been told you have to let extended stay motels come in. We can't do anything about the businesses that are already here. Why can other counties do that and we can't? Why can't we regulate how they look, what they do, what kind of trash we have, what the businesses look like, and what our major corridors look like? Also, we had a Clayton Clean and Beautiful, a Keep Clayton Beautiful for years. It was wonderful. We adopted roads, we educated our children, we were told not to throw our trash out. We saw what it was, that was disbanded. Now Forest Park is lucky enough to have that program that we don't have anymore. Citizens volunteered to do that. We went into schools, we did everything to educate our community about litter, trash, and everything else too. If we don't go back to doing those kinds of things, didn't cost that much, and we need to go back to doing that. But the biggest thing is clean up, make us look better. People, it's sort of the old adage, when you throw out all this trash, it attracts more trash and more trash. Then people will want to look good, clean up. But I would like to advocate that something be built in our area. And I do advocate for transit too, because people can't get to these things if they don't have a way to get to them. And that will bring the jobs. That's the only way you're ever going to get the jobs to come into Clayton County.
Good afternoon. Robert Abdul Salam. I've been reviewing the list and watching the proceedings for the last few months. And one of the things that I don't see, maybe I'm missing it, is something about green and environmental projects, where that is not only something that we need to enhance our community, but it's also another way of bringing attractive businesses and another way of bringing funding, because there's a whole lot of funds now for these green projects. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention, that I don't see that, and whether it didn't come up in committee or, I think we really need to look at that. There's some spaces that we need to preserve throughout the county, and there are some spaces that we need to develop. For example, I proposed a few years ago up on King Road where the hotel fire was, and it killed the 5 people. It's just a vacant eyesore now with weeds and all kinds of stuff. But we actually proposed that we make that a quiet, reflective sitting area. Turn it into a little mini, reading area or something. I mean, we could do an environmental project like that. And so we need to look for those kind of opportunities as well. And I just wanted to make sure that we consider that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, there were dollars recommended in an amount of $15 million. It was for the green space and open space. If you all remember, in the 09 program, there was $10 million set aside for green space acquisition. The county is in the process now of doing trail development. So what we're trying to do is connect all of our destination spots in the county to go from destination spot to destination spot. The example would be connecting a park to a school to another destination spot. So you can actually get on a non-thoroughfare or get on a multimodal trail and not necessarily get on the major thoroughfare to get to these destination spots. And so we're in the process of finishing that plan development. We're working in conjunction with the Path Foundation. And to give an example of that is that you see the program they do in DeKalb County with Arabia Mountain. You see the trail system that they're developing in the city of Atlanta with the Beltline project. And probably the most popular in the metro area will be the Silver Comet Trail up in Cobb. So we're trying to develop something similar to that in Clayton as well, so that our citizens can still have a walkable community without there necessarily getting on a major thoroughfare. Also, as it relates to protecting those pockets of the community that are pristine and mean something to our community. So we'll use a percentage of that funding as well to acquire those lands so that it will not be developed, and it will help protect some of the other areas in the county that certainly need to be sustained over a period of time.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Benoit, and I'm out of Rex, Georgia. A lot of people are talking about the various different items that are on the projected list. I was one of those that, out of the community, that had projected the Civic Center. It's a courageous idea, and it's one that generates interest in Clayton County. If in fact we don't generate interest in Clayton County, we are consistently being that county where people drive by as opposed to stop by. We have an international airport right here. If we don't take advantage of the proximity of this international airport and possibly make an international civic center and begin to bring various different types of events there that draw people here from around the community, around the country, around the state, then we'll continuously be in a tax-based type of county as opposed to someone else bringing tax revenue and dollars to our county. Yes, we do need the green space. Yes, we do need the sidewalks. Yes, we do need all of these other different projects that we are speaking about, and I'm in favor of them as well. But I'm also in favor of making Clayton County a jewel, a pearl of the Southeast that individuals want to come and visit because of what we are doing. And right now, we don't have that attractiveness here that draws people here. So please understand that we're trying to generate the interest that generates the revenue that is left here that we can begin to turn over in these projects such as sidewalks and green spaces and trails and so forth. So, but I'm not speaking on his behalf. I'm not taking his thunder. But however, I did want to say that I am one of those that sought out and put this information out on this list because as a constituent and a tax-based payer here, I'd like to see somebody else help my tax base as opposed to my property taxes going up.
Again, this is the reason why the board, under the chairman's leadership, thought it was important that we have an opportunity for this to be listening sessions. We want you to know that the information that you're providing to us is not falling on deaf ears. We are responsible for taking this information back and then trying to make some rational decisions based upon the ability of the county to take on the projects that you have outlined, and we are certainly doing that. However, I would be remiss if I did not at least acknowledge our chairman, who is sitting in. He decided that he didn't want to get on the microphone. He wanted to just listen. So let's acknowledge our chairman, Chairman Jeffrey Turner. Also, I'm sure that my counterparts talked about this earlier, but this is an unsolicited disclaimer here. This is by no means being vetted out. This is an education session. It is not the county's position to try to get you to vote yes, or no for that matter. It's our responsibility to educate you on the process. So in some instances, we're giving you a sense of where we are in the 04 and the 09 program, and justifiably so. You have the right to ask those questions of where we are on the status of those projects, but also we're trying to figure out how do we continue to move the county forward as it relates to the 2015 program, and hopefully answer your questions in a way that at least will educate you enough to go to the polls to vote. So we want to make sure that we bring that to the forefront, that again, this is an education session, not by no means the county's way of trying to get you to vote yes for the SPLOST initiative.
Okay. Now, what we also did as a committee is we took the projects that were given us and we categorized them into high, medium, and low. And we kept other projects on there as uncategorized, meaning that we felt we did not have the knowledge necessary to categorize those projects accordingly. The next thing we did is we took a lot of input that we had from the county or from the citizens
And we also we didn't categorize them, but we included those within that project list. So just to let you all know, any of the projects that came through the county and through the citizens, we put it out there in that report for the commissioners to begin to look at. Do we still have any more questions? Yes. On that list. They were asking, was transportation on that list? Public transportation. Public transportation is on that list many times. And I yield the floor now to Chairman Turner.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to say a few words right quick because I hear your concerns. I did not really want to get up here and say anything because I wanted to be about you and your input with my personnel and with the Citizens Committee. And I commend the Citizens Committee for the work that they have done thus far. One comment I do want to make, however, is about transportation. I can't speak for the full board, but I can speak for myself. And I am 100% in support of transportation because for us to grow as a county, we have to have a transportation system. Now, I just want to give you a brief update. We have unanimously passed for a request for proposals for a RFP for a feasibility study on transportation. That's where we currently are. And how far off are we from awarding that contract out? Tuesday night. Tuesday night we will make a recommendation to award that contract for a feasibility study to be conducted. It's going to take a little while, but it's going to take a little while because we can't do it tomorrow. But we want to make sure we do it right. I do not want to establish a system and it folds almost like it did the first time. People moved to Clayton County, they changed their lifestyle because we had a transportation system, and then all of a sudden it went away. That had a major impact on people's lives. So this time I want to make sure we do it right, we get input from the citizens, and we create a viable system that's going to sustain itself. So when it comes to transportation, please have a little patience, but at the same time hold us accountable. Now it's going to be a board's vote, and that's why I said I'm not going to speak for the full board. I'm speaking for myself. I'm in support of it. I'm going to continue to try to push that initiative forward, and God willing, we're going to get it done. Now, some of the other projects about the 04 and 09 SPLOST, don't hold our administration, my administration, accountable for what was not pushed or built out in the past prior SPLOSTs. Again, we're not here to advocate for or against it, but at the same token, I want to let you know that when I came through the door in 2013, and you can verify this through my department directors, the first thing I said was get those projects moving. I don't know why they were stalled and why they weren't built out in the first place, but my main initiative at that time, directive, was to start building out those projects that we can feasibly do without having a major impact to the general fund. That's road projects, sidewalks, and other such projects that does not entail us having to hire additional personnel. They have done a tremendous job in getting those projects started. This PowerPoint presentation is showing you all the projects that have been started and completed and how beautiful they are. For Clayton County to grow, we have to have something that draws and makes people want to come to Clayton County. Over the years, several years, we've always been what you see Clayton County is. At some point, we got to stand up and say we want something bigger and better for Clayton County. At some point, we have to take a leap of faith and say we're going to start investing in Clayton County, believing in Clayton County, and making sure that this is the best county in Metro Atlanta, if not the state. But that is all contingent upon us. We have to be committed to that. I hate people when they have a mindset that we are not deserving of anything better than what we have. We deserve a whole lot more. You talk about the airport. The airport, there's a lot that we can't touch because the state legislators, and Mr. Benoit was absolutely correct, has written us out of a lot of the revenues out there at the airport. The airport is 95% in our county. We benefit the least in the state of Georgia from the airport being in our backyard. Unacceptable. When I took office, I met with Mayor Reed and I met with the director out at the airport. I said, any money that's due Clayton County, we want it.
We're going to challenge you, and we're going to fight you for it. We are in active talks and possibly threaten some lawsuits. You know, we have to operate within the confines of the law. But if we are due money, if we can create a situation where we can generate revenue from the airport, which we should have been getting all along anyway, then I want it. I want it for the citizens of Clay County. Just think of what our tax, we probably could balance our budget just off the revenue coming at the out of the airport if we were getting our just due. We're not. So just know that from this Board of Commissioners, we are fighting for what revenues we can get out of the airport. But again, I want y'all all to know that the Citizens Committee has been recommending things that they felt is in the best interest to help us grow as a county. Now, ultimately, all the citizens of Clayton County is going to make that decision. So, vote your conscience, whether you voted up or down. Know that if you want to see bigger and better things in Clayton County, then do your research. Know that you need to hold us accountable as well. We need sidewalks, we need a transit system. Is the SPLOST the answer for all that? Maybe not. But at some point, we have to start thinking about alternative funding sources as well. There's a lot that we can't build if we don't have the money to build it. And if we have to dig in the general fund to build and fund projects, guess whose pocket that's going to come out of? Taxpayers. And that's going to come in the form of a millage rate increase. Food for thought. Again, we're not trying to advocate or not. We're here to provide you with facts. And those are the facts. If anybody has any question for me, I'll entertain a quick question or two because I know we're on the timeline. And then we'll move on. Any questions for me?
But I have a question regarding the proposed Civic Center. I'm just looking at the price tag. I think you all said maybe 35 million, but that just seems to be a small amount of money considering that I know 35 million is how much we used to build a school.
And you're asking that question to the wrong person. I didn't put a price tag on that.
Oh, okay.
Talk to the Citizens Committee.
All right,
or my committee. Did we put the price tag on it? Did y'all? Yeah, so the initial request came from our Economic Development Director, Mr. Grant Wayne Scott. And Mr. Scott has provided, Wayne Scott has provided some additional details to the CEO on that, Ms. Gorey. The reality of it is, when we think about the Civic Center, I think we're thinking about like the Synergy Center up in Cobb or the Gwinnett. It's not on that scale. We think the price tag on that was about $90 million. The idea was that the Civic Center was around a 6,700 seat Civic Center, multi-use, meaning it can be switched out for graduations for the school system. It can be done for a multitude of things. Well, our concern initially with the dollar figures, whether or not that included land acquisition. Mr. Wayne Scott said that it did contemplate land acquisition. And worst case scenario, even if it didn't, there might be some potential locations by which we can identify properties within the county where we did not have to pay for the land.
Okay.
And so
I'm all for it.
Okay.
I just think that amount seems low, and I think that especially I like the part about the graduations because we're paying about $150,000 a year to use the Georgia Dome. I hope that you all will, talk to the school board about that because it seems to me like we might need to try to do a little joint venture there. But I just think the price is a little bit low. But I'm pro Civic Center. Just the money just seemed a little low.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm glad you brought that up because I've had some conversation with Mr. Davis about the Civic Center, and his point was that we might be calling it the wrong thing. Civic Center, first thing you think about is downtown Atlanta, the Cobb Energy Center, where we might be speaking more of an event center, which won't be as costly, but achieves the same purpose, and that's to build a place that's of quality, that brings quality projects or entertainment to Clayton County that we can be proud of, and that people from around this Southern Crescent and around Metro Atlanta area will come and visit. So he and I he's brought that up and he's made that point. And another way that, according to him, that we can augment that, the funding on that is to get sponsorship, to put their name on it and to bring money to help with the sustainability of it.
So we want to thank everybody. Please sign in if we did not get your email.
we definitely want to get that and keep you up to date on what's going on. Anything? Thank you all for coming, and have a safe drive.